You're 26 years old, sitting in a gray cubicle that smells like burnt coffee, refreshing a spreadsheet that isn't even yours. Your manager walks past and doesn't see you. Nobody sees you. That's the moment it happens. Your phone buzzes. An email. Not spam, not a newsletter, an invitation. A shell company you set up 11 months ago, quietly, almost as a joke, just closed its first real acquisition. A tiny logistics software firm nobody wanted. $40,000. And the numbers on the term sheet don't make sense until you read them twice. It's already worth triple what you paid. Your hands go cold, not because of the money, but because of what it means. You built something invisible, and it's alive. You close the laptop at work like nothing happened. You smile at a coworker who asks if you're okay. You say you're fine. You are not fine. You are standing at the edge of something enormous, and no one around you has any idea. That night, you sit in your apartment, blinds down, and you open the folder. The real one, not the spreadsheet from your day job. The one labeled Personal Projects that actually contains 11 months of quiet, obsessive architecture. An LLC in Delaware, a holding entity in Wyoming, 3 bank accounts under names that don't sound like you, and a plan that started as a hobby and is now a weapon. You think back to how it started. $600, a domain name, and a registered agent fee. You bought a failing e-commerce brand from a burned-out founder on a forum for less than a used car. You fixed the checkout flow in a weekend. You didn't tell your friends. You didn't post about it. You let it run quietly for 4 months, and it made $11,000 in profit before you sold it for $31,000 to a buyer who never learned your real name. That was rule 1, and you wrote it down that same week. Never be visible. The moment people know what you're building, they start asking why. And why is a door that lets them in. You take the $31,000 and don't spend a cent of it on yourself. You split it. Half goes into a second acquisition, a directory website with decent traffic and a lazy owner. Half goes into legal structure, because you already understand something most people your age don't. The entity matters more than the asset. You form a holding company. Everything you buy from now on belongs to it, not to you. You become a shadow behind a shadow. 3 months later, the directory site triples its ad revenue after you rebuild the backend at 2 a.m. on weeknights. Still showing up to your day job at 9, still nodding through meetings about quarterly targets that feel like they belong to someone else's life. You are living 2 timelines. In one, you are an underpaid analyst. In the other, you are quietly assembling a portfolio. By month 7, the holding company owns 4 small businesses, combined value around $210,000. You have not told a single person, not your parents, not your girlfriend, especially not her, because the one time you almost mentioned it, some instinct in your gut told you to stop talking, and you listened. The rules multiply as fast as the money does. Never keep more than 2 acquisitions in the same industry, so no single failure can gut you. Never let a seller meet you in person if you can avoid it, because faces get remembered and remembered faces get talked about. Never brag, not even privately, not even to yourself in the mirror, because pride is the first leak. You start reading contract law at night instead of sleeping. You learn what an indemnification clause protects you from. You learn how earnouts can quietly bankrupt an operator if the numbers are structured against them, and you you do something you've never done. You meet him once in a parking garage that smells like oil and concrete at 7 a.m. before your day job. You bring documentation, timestamps, emails, every proof point that shows the deal was clean. You are calm on the outside. Inside, Your heart is a drum solo. He listens. He goes quiet. He takes a smaller settlement, $8,000, just to walk away. And he does. You drive to work that morning shaking, not from fear, but from something closer to hunger. You just protected something you built from nothing, with nothing but paper and nerve. It is the first time you understand. Money isn't the dangerous part. Exposure is. Sure, yours never are. You learn the difference between an asset purchase and a stock purchase, and which one hides your name better. 10 months in, the holding company crosses 7 figures on paper, $420,000 in actual liquid value. If you sold everything today, you still live in the same apartment. You still drive the same car with the check engine light you've ignored for a year. Because Rule 3, the one you wrote in permanent marker on the inside of your closet door where no one will ever look, says never let your lifestyle become a receipt for your success. You quit your day job around month 11, not with a dramatic resignation, but with a quiet 2-week notice and a story about wanting to freelance. Nobody suspects anything. Your manager wishes you luck. You almost laugh at how easy the disguise is. Freed from the cubicle, you move faster. You acquire a small subscription-based tool that automates invoicing for contractors, paying $110,000 for it, most of that pulled from profits of the businesses before it. You negotiate the deal over encrypted messages with a broker who doesn't know your face. Within 4 months, you've doubled its monthly recurring revenue by fixing onboarding friction most operators are too lazy to touch. This is when the psychological weight starts to shift. In the beginning, you built because you were angry at being invisible, angry at watching other people get promoted for less effort than you gave for free. Now, you build because stopping feels unbearable. You wake up at 5, not because you have to, but because your brain won't let you rest. Freed from the cubicle, you move faster. You acquire a small subscription-based tool that automates invoicing for contractors, paying $110,000 for it, most of that pulled from profits of the businesses before it. You negotiate the deal over encrypted messages with a broker who doesn't know your face. Within 4 months, you've doubled its monthly recurring revenue by fixing onboarding friction most operators are too lazy to touch. This is when the psychological weight starts to shift. In the beginning, you built because you were angry at being invisible, angry at watching other people get promoted for less effort than you gave for free. Now, you build because stopping feels unbearable. You wake up at 5, not because you have to, but because your brain won't let you rest. You start speaking less to people you love. Your girlfriend asks why you seem distant. You tell her work is stressful. It isn't a lie. It's a smaller truth hiding a bigger one. You begin to notice the cost of secrecy compounding, just like your revenue does. Every dinner where you lie by omission. Every family gathering where someone asks if you're doing okay financially, and you shrug like you're barely getting by, while your holding company quietly closes a deal worth more than your parents' house. The mask gets heavier every month, but you keep wearing it because the mask is the moat. By month 14, you're at just under $2 million in enterprise value across 6 companies. You hire your first employee, a virtual assistant in another country who has no idea what you actually own. She thinks she's helping a small consulting agency. You tell yourself this protects her too. Some part of you almost believes it. The escalation gets sharper from here. A competitor holding company, bigger and better funded, notices one of your assets performing suspiciously well in a niche market. They send a buyout offer, unsolicited and aggressive. $1.8 million for your logistics software company alone. It's the same one that started this entire chapter. The one that almost exposed you to a furious seller a year earlier. You sit with the offer for 6 days. Selling means an enormous liquidity event, enough to change your bank balance permanently. But selling also means paperwork, due diligence, lawyers digging into ownership structures, exactly the kind of light you've spent over a year avoiding. You counter. Instead of selling, you offer them a minority licensing deal, letting them use your back-end technology under a different brand for $400,000 upfront plus royalties. It keeps you invisible. It keeps you in control. They agree, reluctantly impressed, never knowing the person negotiating through an intermediary is 27 years old and has never once appeared on a company website.
The internal shift deepens here too. You start to feel something you don't say out loud, not even in your own head for a long time. Contempt, quiet and cold, for people still trading their one lifetime for someone else's paycheck. You catch yourself judging friends for complaining about a bad boss, and you hate that reaction in yourself because a year ago you were exactly them. Power doesn't just give you leverage, it rewires what you consider normal. At month 18, the holding company's combined valuation crosses $9 million. You buy your first real asset for yourself, quietly, a modest 3-bedroom house, paid in a way that doesn't trace neatly back to any single acquisition. You still drive an old car. You still wear the same 3 sweaters in rotation. The paranoia doesn't fade with the number. If anything, it sharpens, because now there is more to lose. Somewhere around month 22, an investigative blogger, someone who covers mystery holding companies as a hobby, starts asking questions publicly about the entity that licensed technology to the bigger logistics competitor.
Your name isn't mentioned yet, but your registered agent's name is, and someone in the comments starts connecting dots that shouldn't be connectable. Your pulse doesn't just spike, it stays elevated for days. You barely sleep. You consider seriously whether it's time to dissolve the structure entirely and start over under cleaner paper. You consult a lawyer, paying in cash equivalent transfers, someone recommended by someone who owes you a favor from deal 3. He tells you the exposure is minimal but not zero. Minimal but not zero becomes the sentence that haunts your showers for a week straight. You restructure. You spend $80,000 in legal fees, creating a cleaner layer between you and every asset. Your name isn't mentioned yet, but your registered agent's name is, and someone in the comments starts connecting dots that shouldn't be connectable. Your pulse doesn't just spike, it stays elevated for days. You barely sleep. You consider seriously whether it's time to dissolve the structure entirely and start over under cleaner paper. You consult a lawyer, paying in cash equivalent transfers, someone recommended by someone who owes you a favor from deal 3. He tells you the exposure is minimal but not zero. Minimal but not zero becomes the sentence that haunts your showers for a week straight. You restructure. You spend $80,000 in legal fees, creating a cleaner layer between you and every asset.
An umbrella entity registered somewhere the blogger will never think to look, run by a registered agent who has never met you and never will. The blog post about the mystery empire runs anyway. It gets 4,000 views. Nobody in your real life ever sees it. You exhale for the first time in 11 days. By month 28, you sit at $480 million in total enterprise value across a portfolio of 19 businesses, software tools, logistics platforms, niche e-commerce brands, and one small regional bank stake you acquired almost as an experiment in influence rather than income. You have met maybe 6 of your business partners in person ever. Your face appears on 0 company documents that a casual search could find. Your family still thinks you do consulting. You start to understand something uncomfortable in the quiet hours.
The $600 that started this wasn't really the beginning. The beginning was the moment you decided invisibility was more valuable than recognition, that being underestimated was a weapon sharper than any resume. that the world rewards the people it never sees coming. By month 31, an acquisition offer lands for the entire holding structure. Not one asset this time, the whole architecture. $62 million structured across cash and earnouts from a private equity group that has spent 4 months trying to figure out who actually controls everything they're buying. Your lawyer handles every call. Your name touches nothing. You sit in the same apartment you almost left 2 years ago, staring at a number that used to feel like fiction, and you feel nothing like triumph. You feel something closer to grief for every dinner you sat through pretending to be smaller than you were.
For every relationship that quietly starved on secrecy while the empire fed on it instead. You sign. Somewhere in the world, money moves that will never be traced back to your name in any headline, any interview, any public record anyone will casually stumble across. You built something worth more than most people will earn across 3 lifetimes. And to everyone who has ever known you, you're still just the quiet one who does something with computers. You sit there afterward in the dark, phone in hand, staring at a balance that doesn't feel real yet. And one question sits heavier than all $600 million combined. If you could build an empire the entire world never saw coming, is the invisibility the real fortune? Or is it the loneliest price you'll pay for power?